Matt Farrell, a former CSU student, went to Front Range for a period of time and studied neoliberal economic policies and learned how multilateral corporations have exploited foreign labor and resources. This eventually led him to the Killer Coke campaign website. I had a chance to talk with Matt and asked him how he felt about the new contract with Coca-Cola.
I think it's representative of our capitalist system right now, where we have big corporations which have the power. So a university, something that's supposed to be a place of free thought, has to rely on the multilateral corporations, despite its numerous human rights abuses and its poor environmental policy, just to get funding, just to survive. So it's pretty messed up.
Farrell has been trying to raise awareness about Coca-Cola's alleged human rights abuses to the student body by distributing flyers around the CSU campus.
I did kind of like a little experiment, and I was in the cafeteria, and I like put a flyer like in the microwave, and I sat at one of the little tables by it, and I waited and watched a couple of people like take it out and their responses, and most people were just like, oh yeah, this is just like some kind of activist thing. Like they didn't really know what it was or really seemed to care too much, which sucks. Maybe if more credible people like the teacher started talking about it or something like that, then I think people would be more inclined to look into it, do something.
Farrell says he has no plans to stop this campaign.
We're not really aware of our actions. We're like the bully who's kind of doesn't get picked on, so he doesn't understand why picking on other people is wrong. Um, so we're right now we're exploiting other countries. We're exploiting third world developing nations because they don't have any source of steady income. In our globalized world economy, you need to almost leech off of a bigger superpower to gain any kind of economic success. And that in fact, that's actually the doctrine of neoliberal economics is they want to bring third world developing countries into the world economy through kind of like a baby, like a little brother program with a larger developed nation. So what we're doing is basically abusing that and taking advantage of these countries' poor situations by kind of forcing them to take bad loans with bad stipulations. Say, for example, if they take a loan from the IMF or something like that, then they'll also have a stipulation where they need to raise water prices. It happened in Africa, I think in the Sudan, and or some kind of national product, or allow a Western country to come into their country and exploit the resources. So it's like, oh yeah, you can have this money to develop your streets or your roads or your houses, but you need to let a company come in that resides in our state and have cheap access to your resources. So the problem with that is basically we're not always going to be with the position of power we are in now, and once that happens, the other power is going to just continue doing what we've done, and in not too far of a future, we may be the weaker person. We may be the weaker state who has nothing to sell but very, very cheap labor.
Matt noticed the effects of Coca-Cola in the developing world when he traveled to Honduras
They
last
don't
summer.
have very many sources of income. Like some of their benefactors are big corporations, so it's just like mass consumerism and like ridiculous ads like, oh, Coca-Cola, so sexy. Like, like just ridiculous ads that make you, there's like extreme advertising everywhere you go, and it's just pretty unethical, I guess. And it's like really understated how much of a problem that is, especially I think for poorer areas where a soft drink is like the cheaper, and maybe not even the soft drink, but some kind of like artificial like drink like Kool-Aid or I don't know, like those little juice things, but they're like 5 cents or whatever, like 20 cents for one if you get a big pack. So it's like people end up buying just a bunch of those and drinking them all the time and giving them to their kids without realizing just the full effects of it. Just drinking straight sugar.
Farrell hopes that CSU students will start thinking about the true price of a Coca-Cola the next time they reach into a vending machine. The price, he says, is at the expense of developing nations' economic sovereignty and is often paid with the blood of the less fortunate. For Coca-Cola University, I'm Dan Vukisevich.